1 second. That is the deficit Mercedes claims that they are already conceding to Red Bull, not across an entire lap, and not due to aerodynamic inefficiencies in the corners. They are losing 1 full second purely on the straights. While the casual observer might glance at the timing sheets and see a McLaren sitting in first place, the data tells a far more terrifying story for the paddock. The 2026 regulations were designed to level the playing field, yet day one in Bahrain suggests we may have just witnessed the unveiling of a weapon that renders the rest of the grid obsolete before the first race has even started. We have arrived at the dawn of a new era. The Bahrain International Circuit has just hosted the first official day of running for the radical 2026 generation of Formula One machinery. We saw aggressive new aerodynamics, engines that demand a completely different driving style, and a dusty track that punished even the most experienced world champions. Today was a spectacle of lockups, red flags, and political posturing. But if you look past the surface level chaos, one team has quietly demonstrated the capability that their rivals describe as impossible. Before we dissect the data that has the paddock in a panic, make sure you like this video and subscribe. We will be analyzing every day of testing this week, and you do not want to miss the development war unfolding. Let us address the headline immediately. Lando Norris finished day one atop the leaderboard. The McLaren driver clocked a 1 minute 34.669 on the medium compound tyre during the cooler evening conditions. On paper, this looks like a continuation of the papaya resurgence we enjoyed in previous seasons. Norris and Oscar Piastri banked solid mileage, and the MCL40 looks compliant. However, in testing, the stopwatch is a liar. Norris set that time during a glory run in the penultimate hour, perhaps looking for a morale boost or a sponsor-pleasing headline. Context is everything. Time was 4 seconds slower than the benchmark from last year, which was expected given the new regulations, but the gap behind him is where the intrigue lies. Max Verstappen finished the day over a tenth of a second adrift, but unlike Norris, the Dutchman never bolted on the softer rubber to chase a vanity lap. Verstappen spent his day conducting relentless long runs. He completed 65 laps in the morning alone, exceeding a full Grand Prix distance before lunch. The RB22 looked ominous, not because of its peak speed, but because of its consistency. While others struggled to keep their cars on the island, Verstappen was pounding around with a robotic precision that we have seen all too often. But here is the thing most people miss when looking at the lap count. It was not the reliability of the Red Bull that frightened the opposition, it was what the car was doing with its battery while it ran. The 2026 power unit regulations have shifted the formula from an engine dominance to an energy deployment dominance. This change has created a nightmare scenario for energy management, and it appears Red Bull Ford has solved the puzzle that Mercedes is still struggling to comprehend. Toto Wolff did not mince his words during the lunch break. The Mercedes team principal revealed that GPS analysis shows the Red Bull deploying far more energy on the straights than any other machine. Wolff stated that his car is bleeding a full second per lap on the straight over a 10-lap run because they simply run out of battery. The RB22 does not. This is a critical differentiator. In a single qualifying lap, most teams can dump their battery energy and match the top speeds. The problem arises in race trim. Wolff noted that while Mercedes can match the deployment for one lap, they cannot sustain it. Verstappen was observed doing 10 consecutive laps with identical straight-line deployment profiles. His battery seemingly never runs dry. If this advantage is real, the championship battle changes complexion entirely. We are no longer looking at who has the most downforce, we are looking at who has the most efficient harvesting. A car that can defend on the straights every single lap will be impossible to overtake, regardless of how fast the pursuing car is in the corners. Wolff admitted he hoped Red Bull would be in worse shape, but conceded that they are the benchmark. The RB22 is not just fast, it is efficient in a way that defies the current understanding of the other manufacturers. While the engineers were panicking over energy graphs, the drivers were fighting a physical war against their own machines. The 2026 cars are lighter and smaller, which should theoretically make them more nimble. The reality trackside was far more violent. Turn 10 in Bahrain is a tricky downhill braking zone that demands finesse. To date, it became a graveyard for tires. The new cars possess significantly reduced grip compared to their ground effect predecessors, and the active aerodynamics add a layer of complexity to the braking phase. We saw lockup after lockup as drivers arrived at the corner and found the car refusing to stop. Lewis Hamilton described the experience as rallying. He noted that the cars are easier to catch when they slide, but the overall grip is so low that he compared to the sensation to driving a F2 car. While the timesheets show the cars significantly faster than Formula 2 machinery, the sensation inside the cockpit is clearly underwhelming for a 7-time champion. Hamilton spun at turn 1 and had several excursions off the track, including a moment where he bailed out of turn 10 entirely. He was not alone. Lance Stroll locked up 3 times in 4 laps, struggling to find any rhythm in the Aston Martin. Even Verstappen had moments where the rear of the car stepped out on entry. The culprit seems to be the relationship between the engine braking and the physical brakes. With the increased reliance on harvesting energy from the rear axle to charge that massive battery, the brake balance shifts dynamically lap by lap. Drivers are no longer just modulating a pedal, they are managing a constantly shifting algorithm that decides how much the car wants to slow down. Hamilton voiced deep concerns about this complexity. He described the systems as ridiculously complex, stating that one needs a degree to understand what is happening beneath them. He revealed that if a driver locks up and goes wide, covering more distance, it confuses the algorithm learning the lap, potentially ruining the energy deployment for the next sequence. This is a fundamental shift in the philosophy of racing. The driver is now a manager of software as much as a pilot of hardware. While the established teams fought for dominance, the newcomers faced their own baptism of fire. All eyes were on Audi as they made their official public debut. The German manufacturer has taken over the Sauber entry and they arrived with visible aggressive upgrades compared to the private shakedown in Barcelona. Technical expert Gary Anderson spotted a dramatic evolution in the side pods. They have abandoned the conventional approach for a zero-pod style solution, reminiscent of the Mercedes concept that failed so spectacularly a few years ago. The top surface is swept down aggressively to feed airflow to the rear, and the bodywork is lumpy and distinct. It is a bold roll of the dice for a new manufacturer. However, innovation often breeds unreliability. Nico Hülkenberg triggered the second red flag of the day when his Audi ground to a halt 90 minutes into the afternoon session. The warning lights flashed and the car died just meters from the pit lane. It was a stark reminder of the teething troubles facing the new power units. To their credit, the Audi mechanics rectified the issue swiftly, getting Hülkenberg back out within 15 minutes, but the stoppage highlighted the fragility of these prototype systems. Gabriel Bortoleto in the other Audi seat managed a respectable 49 laps, but the car looked a handful. The front wing now features complex actuators, suggesting Audi is aggressively exploiting the active aerodynamics rules to alter flap angles on the straights. If Audi's day was mixed, Aston Martin's was calamitous. The team has invested heavily in its infrastructure and its partnership with Honda, yet they spent the afternoon in silence. Lance Stroll managed only 33 laps in the morning before the car was packed away. Honda later released a statement citing a data anomaly that required analysis. In the world of Formula One press releases, data anomaly is often coded for a problem they did not want to admit is terminal. The car simply did not run in the afternoon. In a test scheduled for only 3 days, losing half a day of running is a catastrophic blow. Contrast this with Williams, a team that missed the Barcelona shakedown entirely due to delays managed to surpass Aston Martin's mileage comfortably. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon combined for nearly 150 laps, dragging the Grove outfit back into contention. For Aston Martin to be outrun by a team that barely had a car ready last week is an indictment of their preparation. Standing trackside, the visual difference of the 2026 cars is striking. They are physically smaller, a change that becomes immediately apparent as they dart through the technical sections. They look more agile, more like traditional racing cars than the limousines of the previous era, but they also look difficult. The on-rails sensation of the 2025 cars has vanished. These machines squirm under acceleration and weave under braking. We observed Verstappen and Bortoleto downshifting an extra gear into turn 10 compared to the field, using high revs to rotate the car. The sound is different, the lines are different, and the mistakes are more frequent. But the most telling observation came from the behavior of the Mercedes versus the Red Bull. The Mercedes W17 looked planted in the corners, perhaps even more so than the Red Bull. George Russell was third fastest and seemed confident pushing the limits, but as soon as the road straightened, the invisible hand of the energy deficit held them back. It is a helpless feeling for a driver to nail a corner exit, only to derate halfway down the straight while the rival pulls away. This aligns with Hamilton's lift and coast complaints. He mentioned that in Barcelona, they were lifting off the throttle 600 meters before the braking zone on a qualifying lap, just to save energy. If that is the reality of the 2026 formula, we are not looking at a sprint race, we are looking at an economy run at 200 miles an hour. Day 2 awaits, and the pressure on Red Bull's rivals to find answers is immense. We need to see if they can tune their energy recovery to match the benchmark, or if they are fundamentally limited by their hardware. Check out the following video to see how the cars actually handle and what the drivers really think. I'll see you tomorrow for day 2.